So my relationship with the SENRAN KAGURA series is pretty limited. I've only played 3 games to completion, and I've played, I think, Shinobi Versus before. But I haven't done much with it in order to say, oh yeah, I know a lot about this game. So my story in regards of like thinking about the plot of SENRAN KAGURA is, even after playing all these games, is still wonky, you know? I played Burst Renewal, obviously, I made the video about it, but that's even so wonky because it's been a while since I played that game, but I remember liking the story of that. But I never really liked the stories of the games past that. I don't know if I should have just played games like Deep Crimson or Shinobi Versus all the way through to understand, you know, what was going on, because when playing Peach Beach, I know these, and I don't understand how the, you know, the canon works. I haven't done research. I noticed like 2 timelines these games run down. But I didn't watch much of, you know, cutscenes from those games. And I've only know really cutscenes from Burst, Renewal, ESTIVAL Versus, and Peach Beach Flash. But anyway, the point is, today I'm going to be talking about SENRAN KAGURA ESTIVAL Versus. And ESTIVAL Versus is actually the most recent SENRAN KAGURA game I've played. I can't say it's super recent because I played this game about a year ago. But yeah, this is the most recent released SENRAN KAGURA game I've, you know, managed to get a hold of, because when starting the series, the only reason I started with Peach Beach was because that was the very first game I found going, you know, trying to look for a SENRAN KAGURA game. I didn't know anything about the series, I just wanted to jump in just straight ahead. So I was like, okay, fine, going through GameStop right now, what game could I find first? And that's when I found Peach Beach. I thought, okay, it's a cheap SENRAN KAGURA game, why not play that one? And then later I found Burst Renewal, and then later I found ESTIVAL Versus. So today we're going to talk about ESTIVAL Versus. I actually want to talk about this game because I don't have much of an interesting relationship with it, but I do think it's a great game. It has its problems, a good amount of them at least, but I wanted just an excuse to talk about it, and hopefully I'm able to get to talk about Peach Beach Flash when I play it again. So without further ado, let's get on to talking about SENRAN KAGURA ESTIVAL Versus. Now, SENRAN KAGURA ESTIVAL Versus is the overall 7th game in the SENRAN KAGURA series, and it is a sequel to Shinobi Versus. Again, a game I have barely played. I've only dabbled in it for about a few hours because I didn't own it. I don't even know how I got Shinobi Versus. I think I borrowed it from a friend. I just legit cannot remember. But the point is, I played a little bit of it, but I don't know anything to, you know, talk about it. Anyway, this game was created for the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation Vita. It was developed by Tamsoft and published by Marvelous Entertainment. Now, this game was released on March 26, 2015 in Japan. It was released on March 15, 2016 in North America, and it was later released on March 18, 2016 in Europe. And then the Steam version was released somewhere in 2017. I can't remember the exact date of it, but if I remember correctly, this whole thing was released in March. Like every time they released the game is in March somehow, which I just find like literally hilarious. It's like, man, we really gotta get that March. We gotta get that March date, guys. Whenever we release ESTIVAL Versus, it has to be in March. Now, when booting up the game, you have several modes. You're presented with the Kagura Millennium Festival mode, you're presented with the Shinobi Dojo mode, the dressing room, the library, the settings, and the records. Now, the Kagura Millennium Festival essentially has all the modes within it, at least the majority of them at least. It doesn't have an online mode within it, but you know, you don't have to go to the main menu to scroll through it, because like when you go into the Kagura Millennium Festival, it has modes like the mission mode, it has the dressing room, which, you know, I mean, yeah, it's very miscellaneous mode. But the main meat of the mission mode within the Kagura Millennium Festival mode is the Kagura Millennium Festival mode. Like, it's weird, because like you start the game, and then you go into the Kagura Millennium Festival, then you go to a mission mode, then it just sends you to the Kagura Millennium Festival mode anyway. I get it, but like it's a little confusing to explain, but it's relatively straightforward if you play the game. I apologize if I can't show it on screen, because I don't have any way to capture this game, because I am poor. So anyway, the Kagura Millennium Festival is the main story mode, and it covers the 8 days of the actual festival, where you goof off with the different teams. The Hanzo School, the Heavy Joe girls, the Gessen girls, and the Crimson Squad, along with the new team, quote-unquote new team, introduced in this game, known as the Mikagura Sisters, consisting of the eldest Rinka, the middle child Hanabi, and the youngest Kufuru. I think Kufuru, like, out of the 3 Mikagura sisters, I think Kufuru is my favorite, because not only is she adorable as hell, she fights with dolphins, and that's just the cutest shit ever. Like, I'm not too big on her personality, but I do like her design, and I do like what she fights with, so I like Kufuru on that part. Now, the Mikagura sisters are actually shrine maidens who are able to call forth the dead and are essentially those who oversee the festival, along with Sayori, aka Jasmine, who is Asuka's grandmother, and Ryoki, the dead sister of Ryobi and Riona, who is revived during the festival to act as Sayori's second, while also spending time with her sisters. Now, again, my whole thoughts on the plot is a little bit iffy, so I can't remember exactly why Ryoki was specifically summoned back. I don't know. It's been a while. If anyone please someone tell me in the comments, because it's been a while since I went through the story mode. So, like, the thing about it is, like, when I went to the story mode for the first time to talk about the plot, I don't want to talk much about the plot in this video because A, it's been a while since I remembered it, and B, I kind of fell out of it. I'm not saying I hated it, but it didn't keep my interest. I can't remember, like, normally when I play these SENRAN KAGURA games, there are some moments that keep my attention. Like, when I played Burst, I really enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the parallels between the characters. I enjoyed the characters in that game. But when I played, ESTIVAL Versus, I kind of fell out of it. Like, my interest wasn't being held. Every time a scene with Yumi came on, I was just bored out of my mind. I don't hate Yumi, but, like, I just have no interest in her whatsoever outside of her design. And I apologize for that for any Yumi fans. I don't want to sound rude about it, but I just do not find her interesting as a protagonist. I just do not. Like, I feel like Yumi is like the one character that should not be the main character of SENRAN KAGURA. Like a huge cast of different characters, Yumi should not be one main character at all. Yeah, I know the whole, guessing girls and Yumi is now essentially the main character of Senran, so I'm not gonna trip about that. But whatever. But anyway, yeah, like, wasn't really interested in the story all that much. I can't remember anything exactly. I honestly should have probably played it again for this video, but I didn't have enough prep time to do so. So if people enjoyed the story of ESTIVAL Versus and, they want to call me out in the comments, I deserve it, because I honestly should have did some more prep in regards to this game before I started to make this video. Now, within the larger Kagura Millennium Festival mode, we also have two other modes outside the main story. We have the Shinobi Girls Heart mode, where you pick one of the lovely ladies in the roster and go through 5 different stages of fights before getting to the end. It acts as a side story, exploring their characters more, some humorous stuff on the side. It is essentially the game's arcade mode, so to speak. Now, the Shinobi's Girls Heart story, depending on how long it takes you about a good 30 minutes. I recorded a fight just to, I used to record my fights and put them on YouTube. So depending on the character, you have to hear their little story at the beginning. They'll say, I'm having this kind of problem, etc., etc. Like, if I remember correctly, I remember Daidoji's, right? I remember Daidoji's, and Daidoji brought up that she wasn't, I think, feminine enough, right? So it kind of goes to her whole thing of, like, trying to be more feminine, trying to be more like a woman. And you'll have to fight 5 stages of the fights before getting to the end, and then, etc., etc. And it's essentially the game's arcade mode. Like, if you ever played an arcade mode of a game, it's essentially just the arcade mode. And, because it works with every character in the game, excluding DLC characters, I believe. I don't know if, the DLC characters factor into this. But you have a good amount of characters without the DLC characters to do the Shinobi Girl Heart mode. So, it's a nice distraction outside of the main Kagura Millennium Festival. And it's a nice way to just play the characters on their own without having to, go into a fight in the story mode and play their modes. It gives you an excuse to play them, So, yeah, there's that. There's the Shinobi Girl Heart mode. There is also the Special Mission mode, where you gotta fight essentially like the teams of characters. Like, they kind of pit, a team versus a certain characters. Like, oh, the first match in the game, you gotta fight Asuka, Homura, Miyabi. Or the second one, oh, I gotta fight Homura, Yumi, and Miyabi. Like, I didn't play much of the special missions. If anything, I only played like a couple of the modes. I just didn't, feel like doing it at that point, because after I was done with the story mode, I was kind of drained from, like, the story mode for this game is actually a lot longer than I remember it being, and plus trying to cover all the Shinobi Girl Heart stuff, I didn't bother messing with the special mission, so that was my part. But there was a thing I did bring up. There was, like, the description for Asuka's fight in the special missions mode, and her description says, "Everybody seems to have forgotten, but I'm the main character here," which I just find hilarious. And yes, a lot of people have forgotten, especially the Japanese, that Asuka was originally the main character. Like, again, I know some people aren't too big on Asuka, and I get that. The character's kind of just drop off at being, you know, recognizable characters for development's sake and whatnot, after, you know, as these games go on. But honestly, I found Asuka pretty more interesting as a protagonist. Like, she didn't rub me the wrong way. Yeah, she didn't have much to her after, you know, as these games kept going on. But I enjoyed Asuka more than Yumi. Like, I can at least say that. Asuka fit the main character role more than Yumi. I feel like Yumi was like a side character / rival forced into the protagonist role. And I don't want to make this video about Yumi because I don't want to push any buttons. I don't want people to hate me for this shit like this. But I have to stress that I just do not find Yumi interesting. Like, a bunch of people say, oh, she's my waifu, you know, like, yada, yada. Don't matter to me. You know, if you like the character, I won't blame anyone for doing so, because I would hate to just rag on people for liking a certain character, because that's not me. You know, if there's a character that you like that I'm not too fond of, it doesn't matter to me, because, you know, like, it's your favorite character. You like them, so why should I be an asshole to you about it? But I'm just saying, from my personal experience playing these Senran Kagura games, dealing with Yumi in other media, I even took a peek at the anime. I just do not digging Yumi. Just don't dig her whatsoever. Especially now she's the face of the series. I just don't, man. But sorry for going on that Yumi tangent. Now I actually gotta go back to the rest of the game. The other modes, you also got your standard Senran Kagura dressing room where you can play around with the girls. That sounded dirtier than usual. And dress them up in various outfits. You also got your standard shop mode. I can't really call it a mode, but it's a shop, and where you can play the lottery for more items. You can also buy regular items, which, funny enough, the items count in, like, the items in this game is like high. Like, I haven't bought out the gallery yet because I get afraid, because like some of the items in the gallery cost a little bit too much. Like, the items that you would buy mostly in Burst, because I played these games kind of backwards. I played like Burst first, sorry, my bad, Peach Beach, then Burst, then Estival. And I know they most likely changed things along the way, but like trying to buy something from the shop in Burst, I at least had money to burn. But like in this game, I feel so afraid to buy anything worth a damn, because I was like, okay, shit, this stuff costs too much money. But anyway, there's also the online mode where I didn't get to play much of it. I will admit that. The library mode where you can watch cutscenes, listen to voices, check out the CGs, etc., you know, stuff like that. And when I go to the shop, like, I'm back to the shop example. When I go back to the shop, I just see Ayame just working there, and that bugs the shit out of me, because like when I see her working in the shop, I was like, okay, this character, is she a shopkeeper or what? But no, she's a goddamn DLC character, and I was like, oh, well, that sucks. Yeah, DLC is in this game, which is obvious. And I see Ayame there. I was like, oh man, she sounds interesting. She looks interesting. What's up with her? She's just a shopkeeper? No, she's an actual character who's DLC. And I'm like, well, damn it, I don't care anymore then. Screw her. Now, you have a good amount of characters in this game. You have a total of 34 with the DLC added. For your main roster here, you got the characters for the full Hanzo team, who is Asuka, Ikaruga, Katsuragi, Yagyu, and Hibari. You have the full Gessen Girl team, who is Yumi, Murakumo, Yozakura, Shiki, and Minori. You have the full Hebijo team in the form of Miyabi, Murasaki, Imu, Ryobi, and Riona. You got the full Crimson Squad in the form of Homura, Yomi, Hikage, Mirai, and Haruka. You also have the Millennium Festival Squad, which I'm counting as their own team because they might as well be. Jasmine, along with Sayori, you can actually play both of them, which is actually pretty crazy. Ryoki, Rinka, Hanabi, and Kufuru. You also have the Elder Girls, or the Adult Girls, I like to call them, Daidoji and Rin/Suzune. And on top of them, you also have DLC characters. You have Naraku and Kagura, which I'm still amazed that they're DLC, but I'm not going to trip about it really, because I legit don't know why they're DLC, but I hate when that happens. You also have Ayame, as I mentioned before, from the Hanzo school, and you also have Ayane from goddamn Dead or Alive, which is funny that I mentioned Ayane from Dead or Alive because she was delisted back in March. Remember how that shit I kept talking about, how March played a big factor in Senran Kagura Estival Versus? They chose to March to delist her from the DLC. They decided to delist her from DLC because apparently the license to use Ayame ran out, apparently. So Ayame is not a character, sorry, Ayane, my bad. yeah, sorry to say that. Ayane from the Dead or Alive series, her license ran out and she was delisted back in March. So if you already have her, great. If you don't, like I don't, shit out of luck. She's gone forever, and that kind of sucks because I really do like Dead or Alive. I mean, Ayane is not my favorite character, but I do like Dead or Alive, and it kind of freaking sucks that I can't even play her no more. But you know, whatever, shit happens. Licensing deal sucks when shit runs out like that. You also have characters from the Ikitosen series going under different names due to licensing issues trying to get them overseas. You have Sonsaku Hakufu, known as Sun Si. You have Kanu Ucho, known as Gyanyu. I apologize for butchering the Chinese language. And you also have Ryofu Hosen, known as Lubu. Now, I find it cool that these DLC characters are here. As I mentioned before, I haven't personally bought the DLC myself, and I haven't personally bought any DLC characters, but I like the idea of seeing Ikitosen and Dead or Alive characters here. Now, the DLC of SENRAN KAGURA itself, like, if you were to count all the DLC in, like, a giant way of saying, oh, I want to buy all of it, it's not really worth it. It's kind of like a hit or miss, like, because, like, when I play the other games, I look at the DLC, I'm like, oh, this is cool, but this is kind of garbage. Like, the DLC in these SENRAN KAGURA games are mostly accessories and the BGM from Shinobi Versus. But at least with Estival, the majority of the DLC is just cosmetics items, which again, I don't see why they're DLC. But I can only, like, I'm giving Estival Versus the benefit of the doubt here because it is an online game that had constant updates and constant patches and stuff like that. So that's the only leeway I'm giving it in regards to DLC. They probably add that stuff over time instead of dumping it all on you at once, like most DLC companies do. So, and yeah, the free DLC is kind of garbage anyway. I like how the free DLC for this game is just mostly just like white t-shirts with just a design on from them, like just zero effort. But you know, at least Estival's isn't as bad as Burst Renewals. Burst Renewal had shit-ass DLC. Bad DLC. Like, that game is essentially just Estival, but because of how the game works in the timeline, so considering it's the first SENRAN game, they have the characters like, you know, the Gessen team, the Heavy Joe team, Kagura and Raku, etc., etc. But they excluded them from the game because, for whatever reason, I also don't know why they just couldn't be in the game, regardless of they weren't part of the plot. But yeah, like Estival, like, sorry, Burst has shit DLC. I'm not gonna go into that, you know, in this video because that's just a whole nother discussion. But all I can say is Burst has shit DLC, and this game also has free DLC. Like, no, not this game. Burst also has free DLC in the form of diorama poses. Like I could understand if it was Estival if they add over time, but why does Burst have free DLC and diorama poses? Like, I know it's free, but like, why are diorama poses DLC? Like, what the actual shit? I'm moving on. I'm tired of talking about DLC. Now, gameplay in this game is like mixed to me. Like, honestly, after playing all the SENRAN KAGURA games, after playing a game that's completely different, like Peach Beach, and playing a lot of Burst, to the point I actually platinumed the game. And Burst is the only SENRAN KAGURA game. As a matter of fact, it's the only game as of this recording is a game I've actually platinumed. I don't really platinum games because I just do not have the time for it, and some games I do own, platinum requirements are literal duty. So playing Burst, I was like, oh shit, this is actually kind of easy. I like the combat enough to keep going, and eventually I've learned to platinum the game. But for Estival, the gameplay is kind of iffy to me in this game, I won't lie. Now, again, I've played Burst before this game, and the gameplay felt good to play there. In Estival, there's a certain stiffness to it. You know, I don't know how to describe it, because some of the characters do play well, as far as I'm aware of, because everybody's playstyle is different, everybody's going to have their own thing, what they like about the character. And one thing I don't like about this game is that the character's ability to stagger is garbage. Like, trying to stagger a character is like you can't really do that in this game. Because not only you can't stagger lock them at all, it's just that they can easily punish you for it, and like you do so little damage on them unless you're transformed. But even so, you can't just chain them in the air like you could in Burst. Like, I feel like Burst's gameplay was fair because like not only you can have a good challenge, but you can also cheese them too, which I liked doing because there are some fights that got really annoying and I didn't want to restart the fight again due to their health going back up when they transform. And the fact that some characters don't stagger in this game can really punish you on higher difficulties, especially when you choose a specific character that's not a good quote-unquote match up to them. Now, again, I get that this game is older than Burst, so I get that Burst fixed up the issues of this game, and I'm not gonna fault it for that. I'm not gonna fault the game for, you know, being a little rough, because I'm not gonna, you know, try to compare Burst to it, but I kind of have to in this case, because I'm like, well, shit. I mean, I know the game came after, like, you know, game mechanically came after ESTIVAL, but I still gotta, I can't help but, like, you know, think about it, you know what I mean? And this game did go through a few updates. Like, ESTIVAL did go through a few updates and patches, but it didn't make the game feel fun to play to me. Like there's, like, again, the game is fun to play, but there's just something just wrong about this game. Like, I got a lot of hit with a bunch of cheap shots and bullshit out of my control. I had that same thing happen to Peach Beach, but at least I could play, you know, come up with the idea of, oh yeah, they're shooting at me. There's a bunch of characters running around our field, they're shooting at me. But like with ESTIVAL, like I remember just getting hit with just a bunch of dumb bullshit, and I feel like the game just is at its worst when you gotta go through these quote unquote bosses where you gotta fight more than one character that isn't a mob, because not only that the individual characters don't stagger, they also transform at low health like other fights, and it becomes aggravating because the fight essentially starts over from scratch with 2 or more characters. Now, I get why the transformation sequence, you know, shit is in the game. They'll come back at full health. I get it. It's like a comeback mechanic, if you want to think so. That, oh, if you're down on health, you can just transform, get your health back, go back on the offensive with a stronger build, and you also, you know, do infinite combos and whatever. Not exactly infinite combos, but you can still like, you know, break the limit. But I always hate having to do the fight over, because not only they always do it, you just never have a fight where they just don't transform. Like, it happens every SENRAN game, at least the ones I've played, where, hey, you get a character down to low health, boom, they'll transform back at their health again, you know, etc., etc. And I don't mind that. I just didn't mind it in Burst, because Burst didn't take too long to drop health down, but it doesn't matter what level I am in this game, I feel like it just takes a while, and when I get to the high levels, I still gotta worry about different characters having to fight them. Like, for example, I could talk about the like one of the modes. There's like a mode and shit, I forget. I can't remember exactly in ESTIVAL, but I think there's one, like, there's some modes. There's some parts in the story, my bad, that you have to fight 3 or more characters at a time. And that's, like, again, that's the worst part, because not only have to worry about picking off characters one by one, you have to pick them off, they still transform, and you have to worry about starting it over again. Like, it's so annoying to deal with, because, like, so it gets even worse as the game goes on. Because not only you have to start fighting multiple teams, you have to start fighting, you know, just outright a lot of the teams at once. Now, they do give you some leeway in some moments where, like, okay, you gotta fight the whole Crimson Squad, where you just gotta fight them one after the other, but they still transform, and it's essentially you gotta fight essentially, you're not really fighting 3 characters, you're fighting 6, because they come back at full health, and it's so aggravating all at once. Again, I don't want to, you know, be shitty against, you know, the gameplay, because I did enjoy my time for what I played of it, but, like, when I played, it's like because of the gameplay, how stiff it feels and how the characters don't stagger, there are too many of these multiple character modes. Like, when the game, like, when you fight, you know, one-on-one, it still gets aggravated, because some characters can hit you with cheap bullshit. But half the game is, like, fighting multiple characters at once. But, like, when you gotta go into a fight where it's like, oh, defeat Murakumo, Yosakura, Shiki, and Minori. Oh, shit, you gotta fight Murasaki, Ryobi, and Riona. Oh, shit, you gotta fight Asuka, Karaga, and Katsuragi. Oh, shit, you gotta fight Asuka, Katsuragi, and Hibari. Oh, you gotta defeat all the Mikagura sisters. Oh, shit, you gotta fight, what, Homura, Yomi, and Mirai. Oh, shit, you also gotta fight freaking, Miyabi, Ryobi, and Riona. Oh, shit, I gotta fight the whole Crimson Squad. Oh shit, I gotta fight Miyabi, Murasaki, and Emu. Oh no, like it's just so annoying to deal with. I'm sorry, this segment's way longer than it had to be, but I don't enjoy this at all. And like something like it's like I had like it's like a 50-50% experience. Playing with all the characters was fun. Playing through the game at points, about half the Kagura Millennium Festival mode wasn't fun. And then you also got, you know, effects like being frozen, which lasts too long, and it's a pain in the ass because, you know, you can get easily wrecked. Like, it's not that you can get wrecked in this game, it's just like cheap bullshit out of your control half the time, and I legit don't like it. That's why I was playing this game is like going back to this game is super hard for me to now, because like when I play it, I'm like, damn, dude, like I hate dealing with these characters because like they're so cheap and they out of nowhere just kick my ass and they have so much health and like it's But the game itself is quite long with a lot of content. You know, despite my complaints with the gameplay, playing with the characters did feel fun. And I think my favorite character to play in this game is Miyabi. Now, when I played Burst, I didn't obviously have access to Miyabi. I could have bought his DLC, but I wasn't doing that shit. So, yeah, I played a lot of Miyabi in this game. And not only did I max her out her level, because a bunch of other characters in this game, I hadn't even bothered to max out their level yet because I was going to the story mode. But because I liked playing Miyabi so much, I was like, you know what? To hell with it, I'm gonna play as Miyabi in this game. And not only does she has one of my favorite designs, I think I like just like her powers, and she just felt so right to play in this game. Like, I just enjoyed playing her in this game. Plus, she gets like a one-winged angel, two-winged angel form if I want to be that technical with it. But yeah, she was really fun to play in this game, and I really enjoyed my time with her. A character that I did not enjoy playing in this game was actually Yozakura in her moments. Now, again, I don't have anything against Yozakura. I like her design, I like her character. But as for playing her, I think she was bar none the worst character for me to play as in the game. Now, everybody has their own taste. Everyone has their own preferences in regards to SENRAN KAGURA characters. But if I'm dumping my 2 cents on this matter, I did not like playing Yozakura at all. She is a character that requires leveling up to get better, which I can deal with, fine. You know, if a character's got to level up to get better, get more skills, etc., fine, whatever. I mean, fine, whatever. But one, she only gets good to about level 30 because of her dash cancels, which freaking suck, dude. Like, again, you know, obviously, if you're playing the character already, you're going to grind that level, but I gave up, man. Like, once I hit level 30 with Yozakura, I was done, because playing at hers was so annoying. And, like, I couldn't get hit without, like, I couldn't do shit without getting hit once. Every opportunity, because as I mentioned before, this game is a little bit stiff in regards of the staggering and whatnot, and some enemy formations just kind of suck. I couldn't do shit without her getting at least hit once. Her hits were way too slow, and the windup was way too long, and her gauntlets had to, like, lock her in place to reset in order to get hit. Like, her gauntlet reset sucks. And, like, you know, like, she, again, I can get the power type character. I am not tripping about it. I know she's essentially the heavy and slow power type of character, but I just not enjoy my time with her. The only benefit I got of her is that she can, I think she has the best way of parrying in the game. At least to me. She parries so good because of how, you know, slow she is. You have to play the slow and steady game. But playing as her sucked. Again, that's why I'm glad this game has options, because I did not like playing as Yozakura, you know, at all. I've only played Yozakura when I actually had to, but actually playing with her, I just didn't, dude. Like, I think it got, like, really worse when I had to do, like, there was this mode called Super Dish Cooking, which is near the end of the game. And I have to fight Miyabi, Ryobi, and Riona, and I didn't enjoy it at all. Like again, I don't have an issue with Yozakura herself, but playing as Yozakura, I think she's just the worst character in the game. Like for me personally. I also didn't vibe with characters like Ryobi. I just don't like Ryobi personality-wise anyway. But I didn't like playing with her either, because she has to work with her shotgun mechanics, and like, if you can still hit opponents up when you get up close to them. But I didn't like playing as her either. And like the fact that she has to fight the final boss in the form of Ryoki was like the worst experience. It took me so many times to redo that fight on medium, and God forsake, I wasn't doing that shit on hard mode. Like fighting, I just like, I understand there's some stinkers in some regards of characters. I just didn't enjoy my time with Yozakura. I mean, Ryobi wasn't much better, but I didn't do it. It came out of nowhere when I actually had to fight the final boss as Ryobi. I was like, oh shit, I barely used this character. I'm getting my ass whooped. So yeah, that was not a fun experience. But other than that, I didn't have an issue with the other characters in the game. Yeah, I didn't vibe with Renka's little drum and stuff. Hanabi was a little bit too slow for my taste. But the rest of the characters were pretty fun to play as, so I literally can't complain about them. And now I can actually finally talk about the soundtrack. Oh, hell to the yes. SENRAN KAGURA ESTIVAL Versus has hands down the best consistent soundtrack of the entire Senran Kagura series. Now, I will tell you this, even though I haven't played the other games, I have listened to their soundtracks because that doesn't require me to actually go out and buy anything. So yeah, I've listened to the other soundtracks of the games, and I will say Estival Versus is the best consistent soundtrack. I personally believe that the other Senran Kagura games I've played either had mediocre or forgettable songs. Again, music taste is subjective, and I'm not going to rag on people for what they like about the other Senran Kagura games in regards to music, because when I played games like Peach Beach, I can only remember like the main theme when you get into the menu. I played Burst, and I can only remember like the Dual Rhapsody, the song you play against Yamata no Orochi. So like, those are the only songs I can remember from those games, right? But when I played Estival, oh my god, I can remember like so many themes off the top of my head. I remember Grandma's True Motive, which is Asuka's theme. Now, if these songs do sound weird to you in regards of titles, I kind of use the direct translations from their titles. I didn't use the in-game ones because they didn't sound right to me, because I got so used to hearing them off YouTube. So I'm only going by those names. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, Grandma's True Motive, which is the theme of Asuka. The Bewitching Guessing Girls School, which is the theme of the Guessing Girls. For My Little Sisters, the theme of Ryoki. Grandfather's Wish, which is the theme of Yumi. I'll Be Sure to Protect You, which is the theme of Yagyu. Look at Minori, also the theme of Minori. Make Sure It Absolutely Hurts, which is the theme of Riona. Ready to Say Goodbye, which is the theme of Yozakura. And finally, Searching for the Wielder of Hien, which is the theme of Ikaraga. I can remember these themes perfectly off the bat without even having to look at my phone's freaking playlist of these songs, because they're that damn good that they get stuck in my head. I also like the classic music touch they have in some of the Guessing Girls themes. I like that idea where they added, like, you know, classical music motifs to their themes, but they kind of mask it in a way to where you can't see it. Sorry, I can't hear it. I did hear it Ready to Say Goodbye, which is the theme of Yozakura's, which I just found just hilarious. But I liked it regardless. It was kind of cool, a nice touch. I don't know why specifically classical music, but it was a nice touch regardless. And Estival Versus just had some good music. Like I just want to put a segment just for you guys to hear it, because it's just that damn good. Like, just a little snippet of some of the songs, because they're just some really damn good songs. And I'm kind of sad that the music quality for me personally isn't like this consistent. Like, everybody has, like, you know, metal theme, rock music. They got some good ass freaking violin going on, pianos. Like, there's some really good variety of music here, and it all sounds really good. Like the music quality in the game just like bumped up out of freaking nowhere, because I was like, well, I actually owned the soundtrack for Senran Kagura Burst Renewal. And I was like, you know what? I haven't bought a Senran Kagura game before. I bought the tailor-made edition. It came with the soundtrack. It came, you know, it came with other stuff. I was like, you know, why not? You know, I wanted to, but I never really listened to the CD all that much. I kind of just keep it on my shelf because I like the way it looks. But damn, if I had the opportunity to buy the Estival soundtrack, I definitely would have done it, because it's just that damn good. Like, the soundtrack is just that good. And that's the end for my thoughts and feelings about SENRAN KAGURA ESTIVAL Versus. Again, after all my whining about the gameplay, I still like playing the game. It's just like there are moments in the game that just piss me off. It just like, and again, this game's not bad. Like, it's just there's some modes, man. Like, I mean, not modes, my God, some fights in the game that just suck major duty balls. And I never thought I'd say that in my life, duty balls. Like, I just did not enjoy it. Like, I enjoyed the game. I just did not enjoy my time with some of those fights. But, you know, but the game is still fun. The game is still fun. It's still a good SENRAN KAGURA game at the end of the day. I do believe people should play it. I would just keep in mind that there were some bullshit moments in this game. I legit believe there are some bullshit that honestly should have just been patched or whatever. I know the game's an online game, so there's some things that just fall by the wayside. I totally understand that. But I just personally believe that Burst was like, Burst had less content because it's just like, you know, a remake of the original game. But at the same time, it felt mechanically, you know, good. I know there's a big gap between these game releases. Hell, Burst was released in what, 2017, 2018? So that was like two to three good years right after ESTIVAL Versus. So they had time to patch shit up. It's time to make the game better to play. So I'm not gonna trip on that front. But at the same time, like, shit, man. Like, there's some things that are holding me back from playing this game as often as I kind of do. Like, it was kind of a slog to get through, mostly because of some of the fights that got on my nerves. But again, you should play it. Again, if you have friends that play SENRAN KAGURA ESTIVAL Versus, I believe you should play online, because I don't know how the online ecosystem is now, but I'm sure it's kind of dead because this is an old game. But yeah, next time I'm going to try to talk about PHP Splash. I gotta actually play that game again and actually, you know, get into it again. So without further ado, I will be just be leaving, guys. Peace out. Have a good time. Have a great day. See you all next time.